Hello everyone, it's Mike Levin from MikeLevinSEO.com, and this is the Gropey project in GitHub, and we're still pretty early on in it, and I'm still making some of the fundamental decisions about how things work. Now you'll recall this upper if block, if it's working on local files, is going to load the data out of a CSV file and then populate it into a shelf object so that we can back-end this down the line with Redis and Berkeley DB and large databases. And it's important to keep using the shelf object. And the thing to notice when using the shelf object is that when you are creating indexes, they have to have the square bracket notation because it's like the dictionary object API, and then the keys have to be string values even if it's looks like an integer inside of it. And that's directly on the all rows object. Now compare this to this block in here, which is using gspread, which generates a list of lists. And the thing to notice about that is to step through the values in there. It's not directly on all rows. It's on all rows dot row values method. And then that has normal parentheses that you put the number into. That's because that is a list index as opposed to a dictionary key. Now I could use some assignment to make all rows actually point to all rows dot row values and make it so that it's all rows square bracket in one case and all rows parentheses in another case, and feed it string values in the former and integers in the later, but it seems to all be getting a little too complicated. And I think what I'm going to do is give up the notion of having all rows fall off the end of this if-elif statement or logic flow and be an object that I can treat the same in both cases. I'm going to have to treat it differently. I'm going to have to look at globs.db source and do the stepping through the object one way if it's a shelf and another way if it's gspread. So where does that leave us? That leaves us getting rid of this notion of all rows down here, and we'll do a search and replace, but it doesn't have to be global. You will remember if you start from somewhere, you can do %s / all rows, and we're going to put WKS for worksheet back in there, and we will put G for global, C for confirm, and then we'll answer no to those, and then we'll answer yes to that, yes to that, yes to that. Okay. Escape, colon W. We'll get rid of these two print statements right here. And now we have something that's just going to step through and come out with two very different types of objects. And I could put the iteration straight in these things here. I could get rid of the let's see, else pass. Very tempting, but let's see how that would work. Once you're here, you could step through it, and then you'd call another function. We'd be feeding the since you're always getting back rows that are lists, we're going to be calling a subfunction and feeding it a list. And we can put that here. Now that we've immediately reopened all rows for a row in all rows. And we don't even really need this globs.last row. It has been used for creating the indexes. We'll keep the indexes compatible, the key value pairs compatible with the other method, even though they're strings in one case, integers in another. And I will print a row. And so that should just step through what was in the CSV file, and we'll do the equivalent here. Now we'll have to decide where to do it. Else break. Oh, this is the place to do it. And it's going to be a little different because you can't do for something in this because we found out it is not iterable. So we have to do for, and we choose something arbitrary, row dex, because it's a an index of rows in range. Now remember, we used this range trick just a few lines up. I'll do it one based. I'm pretty sure it's going to stay one based, comma, and in this case globs.lastRow is actually quite important. So we're going to be generating one to the index of the last row, and now we can print it's W. Oh, for arrow. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. So we're doing exactly the same thing as we did above, but instead of to get the number of rows we're going to be going through, in fact, that is the iteration right there. It just happens until, yeah. Why be redundant? If we're going to put the loop in there, if a row pass, we just bring back the print statement. Get rid of the pass, and it goes until it finds a empty row, and then it stops. This is kind of a simplification, really. Now the globs.db source is set to local, so we should be able to test this and know that we're looking at the right thing because it'll end in Doctor Who, which is in the CSV file currently, right? Okay, but we're getting 3120. There's something else being printed here that is undesirable. Let's just look at our print statements. That's the one we're encountering. Yeah, okay, there's two print statements in there. We don't need to see the number. Last row. Oh, it's showing the row here, not the number. This is the one that's showing the, we don't want that because that's just confusing us. For a row in all rows. Well, let's test it again. Yeah, that's giving us just the numbers. So, yeah, oh, that's the keys we're getting. We don't want to print just a row. We want to print a row with a square bracket. We're going to do all rows with a row. And it's not even a row, it's row dex. Let's keep our language as descriptive of what it really is. Row dex, row key, row key. Okay, that's what we want to see. That's the contents of the CSV file when it's set to local. Now let's change it to gdocs. Change word. Gdocs. Now let's just run it right off the bat and see what's broken. Hey, nothing's broken. And you can tell because it's only got the 3 rows that it is working against the spreadsheet that you see displayed here. That's a very good stopping point. We can toggle that control back and forth, the DB source between gdocs and local, and this sets us up really, really well for the future. Yes, so let's drop out into the shell, git commit am, and what we just did is separated row iteration based on object. Git push. exit. Thanks for joining me, and don't forget to thumbs up the video and share it and subscribe. Talk to you soon.